Yeah. Actually, it's good. I'm not in this.
You want to
Scoot over just a tad.
Yeah. So,
all right.
Good?
Perfect.
Good from all
right,
angles?
so let's hit the brew.
With that?
A little minor difficulties. Yes!
there it is.
We're finally live everywhere. Everybody sees us. It's Dion and Ant with my guy Jason Goff, special guest. He took the time out to come join us. We're at the Johnny Cock, the Johnny Hancock. We're going to get some stuff going. Ant's going to kick us off. What we got today?
We got season 3, episode 6. We're going to take you through the NBA playoffs, talk a little bit about the Bears and making some what I think are some big moves. A little bit of the Bulls off season, and then we're going to ask our guy over here a couple major questions that I think everybody's anticipating. So
All right.
We'll get into it.
So what's your take on the playoffs so far?
They've been fun. I think we're seeing the emergence of what the East is going to look like and what it's supposed to look like now, with Ben Simmons and the Boston Celtics and LeBron. That's pretty much going to be the video that's playing for the next decade or so.
Right.
I think those three entities will be involved with each other, whether they're on the same team or battling against each other. The East is up for grabs in the bottom 8 of who's going to continue to make it, that 4 through 8 seeds. But the top 3, depending on what Boston does, whether it be moving Kyrie or acquiring Kawhi, wherever Paul George lands, if he comes to the East with Philadelphia, wherever LeBron goes, if it's to Philadelphia, or if he stays in Cleveland and has somebody come and play with him again. I think we've seen what the East is going to be. Right now, we've seen, we're watching what it is, and I think we're watching the future as well, because Brad Stevens is a guy that I didn't believe in at first
Initially.
and I've said it on air, but watching him master not only the Rondo situation, but the swing and misses for Kevin Love and Klay Thompson, and having all those draft picks, and actually that team playing a certain style. And people compare them to San Antonio of the East, but I think it's different because they have yet to get that star. This is a rolling rebuild. They gave Isaiah Thomas the ball and he got MVP votes. Like I said, the Rondo situation with Danny Ainge said, "That's my coach," even though you've won championships for us. They've done everything the right way, even in times where I was like, I don't know about this move. I don't know what's going on here. Avery Bradley's a good piece. The 2 best players haven't played these playoffs, and they're taking teams to the hill. So I appreciate what's happening in the East. And the West is just fun until Golden State does what they have to do.
I despise Golden State.
You despise them?
I despise them.
I don't like them.
There's a lot about Golden State that I think is celebrated if the characters weren't those characters.
Yeah.
Right.
Those characters. That's a good way.
I honestly didn't have a problem with Golden State until Durant showed up, though, to be quite honest. Yeah. I'm just not a Durant guy personally. I don't know how you feel about him, but I don't know. I feel like he took the easy way out. I think when you're up 3-1 against a team and you give it up, and then that exact offseason that you give up 3-1,
you go play for him.
You go play for the same team. You know what I mean?
I'm all about player empowerment. I think we're living in an age where we're still stuck in the 80s way of thinking. I'm all for guys having the power and moving as freely as they want to. Now, it doesn't come with the stigma that's been attached to his name like you think, and like what happened with LeBron. And before LeBron did it, I used to joke about that LeBron pressure. Everybody acts like LeBron hasn't gone through pressure from year 2 to now. But as soon as it's time for you to stop being cute and start winning, that LeBron pressure turns on. It turned on for Steph Curry for a little bit. It turned on for Kevin Durant. And, I like Kevin Durant. I think he's going to go down as one of the top 3 scorers in the game's history. But there was a reason why he never, and I used to say it when they were in Oklahoma City, there's a reason why he never broke bad on Russell while they were together. Because Russell took arrows that he couldn't absorb, and now we've seen it play out 2-3 years later with the fake Twitter accounts and the Players Tribune stuff. We know what kind of guy he is, and it's okay to be vulnerable and sensitive and all those things, but for us to say it before he said it, it seemed like it was a problem, and now he's embraced it to the point where and he's winning championships too.
Right.
True.
You know, so I think the Golden State thing is fun to watch, and I think they're an all-time team, which I don't think we talk about enough.
They are.
They're an all-time team.
Oh, absolutely.
I
think.
Yeah.
I think they could be the best team.
Yeah.
All right.
Man.
So we've had this conversation.
I really do.
Man.
He said they would beat the 96 Bulls.
I think so.
You know, it'd be a tough game. I actually almost got into I got into a debate with Cliff Livingston when I was doing Stephen Bardo's thing over at the Velvet Lounge not too long ago, and he mentioned, you know, those teams, and I mentioned the Golden State Warriors of today. You know, the matchups, and you have to tell me whose NBA we're playing in as well,
Exactly.
in terms of calls and defense and those things. But the matchups. The way the game is played now, and that's why it's hard to.
Golden State will bust.
That's why it's hard to compare the eras because those guys didn't grow up. It was something to see Michael Jordan hit 6 3-pointers and a half.
Absolutely.
Right.
Now, you know, if a guy hits 4 or 5 and a half, you got Nick Young who go crazy for 4 threes. So the game has changed. Yeah, the game has changed, and it's tough to compare generations. But this is an all-time team, no matter how you slice it.
Do you think people are living in the moment with all of this LeBron, Mike talk? To me, around my age, I grew up with, to me, the top 3. I've seen Kobe, I've seen Mike, I've seen LeBron.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think people are living in the moment? Oh, LeBron is the greatest, screw Mike. Like, people like this guy who didn't really see Mike, he doesn't understand
I think
the
LeBron's better, I
magnitude.
do.
See, I think LeBron might be the most talented. I think he is the most talented player of all time, and I've gone back and forth on whether he's the greatest player of all time. I'll say this, Michael Jordan, you know, we don't, anecdotally, we don't remember. Like, I feel like Michael Jordan is everyone's Instagram sports god, where, you know how on Instagram all we do is put up the shit that, you know, we always put up our highlights.
Yeah.
Like, we never put when your car broke down.
Exactly. Like,
Or when you got the boot. Or when somebody told you, some girl told you that, nah, this wasn't popular the way you thought it was. Like, we don't put those messages up. You know, we only put the winning tickets up when we bet. You know, those kinds of things. I feel like what sports fans have very easily done over the last generation is forget some of the tough moments that Michael Jordan had. And he did have tough moments. You can go to the 6-0 in the finals. That's cool. 6-0 all time. I mean, that won't happen again.
Right.
And that's why he's iconic and all
And that's
the
the thing.
things.
It probably won't happen again. But
Sure.
to me, I don't think 6 rings opposed to 3 rings opposed to 2 rings really defines your entire.
Well, you gotta win multiple.
Right.
You
You got to win multiple.
gotta
Right.
win
That's why I
multiple
said
rings.
6, 3, or 2.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, I don't think if you look at a guy who wins 6 and then you look at it. I mean, Robert Ory's got 5. His name's not, or 7. He's got 7.
Yeah.
I mean, his
But he
name's
wasn't
not
the
going to
guy.
be.
I know
up
what
there.
you say.
You know what I mean?
He's not the guy. I
Right.
mean, that's why Bill Russell. You know, Bill Russell won 8
What's
in
he
a
got,
row,
11
out
total
of
or
13.
something?
Yeah. And the team that was around him. I think the Michael Jordan LeBron conversation. It like devolves to
It's hard.
least common denominator stuff though, because in the end, all we're doing is trying to make sure people who have great Michael Jordan memories don't lose those. They're like holding on to those, and at the same time, you know, just live in the moment, the greatness that is LeBron James. Like, I don't think we've ever done this before, where people have shunned and disrespected greatness the way we have with LeBron James. You know, Kobe was on the West Coast, and so a lot of people didn't get a chance to see his entire career play out. They saw him, you know, when the playoffs rolled around, and you saw him on the TNT doubleheader. This dude has played in the Eastern and Midwest time zones for his entire career. You've gotten to see every single game, and what do? We talk about the fourth quarter against J.J. Barea and all these other things. We don't act like, you know, in 88 or 89 when Mike didn't show up for some fourth quarters, but we didn't have social media. We didn't have those things then. You know, Michael Jordan didn't get out the first round for a while.
I saw that 3 times.
Yeah. And these are the things, like, it doesn't make Mike any less of a player. It's just a part of the story.
Right.
Like, we were having this conversation 7 years ago with LeBron, before the book was even halfway over. And now it seems like and the thing I hate the most now with sports is, you know, we get new information and act like we don't get it.
Yep.
You know, we get some new information,
like
but since we planted that flag, I got to stick to this, and I got to bring it back as closely as I can to this beacon of of where I was, instead of just saying, you know what, man, I didn't like him, I like him now, or I didn't respect his greatness. And I was at Reggie's.
Okay.
I was at Reggie's last night after we played ball, and we went up there and watched the second half of the game, and there's dudes screaming, and I find screaming at the television,
Yeah.
and I find it amazing that so many grown men. This is the power that LeBron has had. There have been so many grown men who have become fans of 29 different NBA teams.
Oh, totally.
I can't wait to tell. I've seen the Chicago dudes rooting for Boston when the Celtics were doing their things. Mm-hmm. I got friends of mine who actually put on all black during the Spurs series and talking about they're going to LeBron's funeral. Now tell me, like no one man should have all that power. Like that shouldn't happen.
No, but it does.
This is the thing. The things that he snatches out of you, I don't think you respect. Like, you didn't feel this way about Tracy McGrady. You barely felt this way about Kobe. Because Kobe was the closest to looking and feeling like Jordan, but you're like, that ain't Jordan, you cool. Yeah. The fact that you have these conversations about him means something.
Exactly,
right?
And it's not done yet.
Nah. It's not, because he's going to go win 2 rings with somebody else.
Right, and he's on fire right now at his oldest point. So that's the thing. I mean, I think right now for someone to say he's not going to be as good as Jordan, that's the comment I cannot stand is he'll never be Michael Jordan. Why?
Well, because there's certain things that people, like Mike, the book, you've already read it, so you know the ending.
Right.
So you know that the path to that ending will never be the same. You know, like you know that he'll never retire and then come back and then win 3 more championships. You know that he'll never have a Cody like Dennis Rodman. You know that you already know that book. You already know that. So now you're just watching this unfold. And the crazy part about it is kids that like LeBron James that never saw Michael Jordan play, you show them YouTube clips. First of all, they're in standard definition, so kids laugh at that. Like the times have changed so much so that we laugh the same. Magic and Bird. Like my dad and my dad's friends were huge Magic Johnson fans. And then Michael came through with the gold chains and the J's and changed all of that for every kid.
Shorts.
Right, for every kid. Yeah. Like, yo, this guy's jumping over people. He might be the greatest wing player I've ever seen. And this is in 90, 89, 88, right? And then he wins it in 91 when Magic was on the way out and the Lakers were, a decent, they were a good team. Mm-hmm. Like the best team I think they played against, if it wasn't the Blazers in 92, we're talking about that.
That's another thing, the level of competition. Team. Yeah, I mean.
Like, and no shade, but you gonna show me somebody that they played against like the Spurs or
it's also
like
the past. The past mentality is so funny because when people talk about Jordan, they're like, okay, he was in the league with Bird, Johnson, blah blah blah. They'll say a million guys.
Right.
But the problem is, 20 years from now, it's going to be LeBron was in the league with Durant, Harden, Curry. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the same difference.
Yeah. Every era has got their greats.
Exactly.
Every
so
era,
it's just like
the game has evolved.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's just such a different.
We don't. But that's the thing. We don't even have to have it.
Exactly.
Like like we don't have the favorite rapper conversation or greatest rapper conversation as much as we used to. You know why? Because rap has changed.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna tell a 15, 16-year-old kid that their favorite rapper shouldn't be,
Gucci Gang?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to tell them that? No, it's not for you. Yeah. The same way, Allen Iverson, like, let's keep it funky. Allen Iverson was hated on by old heads, old basketball heads. And then when his career is over, it's like, Warrior. That's the kind of guy, right? But they were locked in a point guard shouldn't shoot that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, this is how the game has changed. Like, the term lead guard, I mean, look at what the term lead guard did for smaller guards, where it's like I don't have to be a facilitating point guard. Right. I could actually score the ball.
Like a Dame Lillard
or
Westbrook.
Exactly. So the game changes, the game moves along, the game evolves. Michael Jordan was a recipient of God-given greatness, but also cable TV and an iconic shoe campaign.
Yeah.
Like all those things at once, and then it blew up. Yeah, and LeBron is also eating off of that as well. And there's no next because social media was the next. So now LeBron took the stance of, okay, I'm going to show people not only my vulnerabilities but the things I care about.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be the community that he used to live in or the people that look like him. So the next thing is going to be, all right, is Ben Simmons the next LeBron? And is this guy the next that guy?
Yeah.
Hell, you don't even have centers. Like, we talk about centers.
No, there's no traditional centers anymore.
Michael Jordan, like Magic Johnson was 6'9", Larry Bird was 6'10". Everybody had a center in those days. Michael Jordan made it okay for you to draft a lead guard, a 6'6" wing, and say, you can build our team around him. Even with Clyde Drexler, I mean, they were still living off of Bowie dreams and hopes, right? Oh. So think about where the game has gone, where now you draft a big man at the top of the draft, he better be a star.
Right.
Because if he's not, you're stupid for not going to get the wing.
And the best big men right now that are being drafted are versatile as hell.
I mean, Andre Drummond, that's a little...
Joel Embiid is a guy who steps out. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins.
Even Karl Anthony.
Whiteside is...
Did
you hear what Pat Riley said about him?
Shut up. Dude,
he came right at him.
That was...
I think he just goes out too much.
They get... Well, he doesn't... It's just because you give people money doesn't mean it's going to change them.
Right.
You find out who people are more when you give money.
Right.
What happened with the Dwayne Wade thing was shameful. And what they did was, we got to give this money to somebody. So they gave it to a guy who hadn't earned it. And a guy who they knew was going to bail on him once it came time to really show up and prove.
Right.
And, he's a regular season player, but that can't be your leader. I mean, Deion Waiters and these guys are cool.
What did Pat Riley say?
He pretty much said he wasn't ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, he said
mentally, wasn't ready.
And you talk about a max player.
That's your guy. I mean, look at the minutes he was getting.
You can't saddle a roster with not being able to count on him.
His peak game was against the Bulls.
Yeah. I mean,
what are you going to do there?
I remember I was at the Denver airport, snowed in.
Yeah. What are you going to do with that, though?
On a Sunday, he killed it. That's when the Bulls were rocking, too.
The Bulls were rocking. Yeah. What, this year?
Hey.
No.
When Jimmy was here.
Yeah, like when that game that Whiteside had, it was like maybe 4 years ago or something.
Yeah. Hassan's he's a nice player, but you got to be careful who you give him money to.
Yeah,
right.
Got to be careful.
Where you want to transition into football, man?
Yeah, I want to get into since I know you're dealing with a lot of stuff on Fox as far as Chicago sports in general. The Bears. I think the Bears made some pretty good moves, man. I like the draft picks they picked up. I love this linebacker. I think they stole Anthony Miller. And
nowhere to go but up. I mean,
right.
Yeah,
I saw your reaction to 7 or 9.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, if they win 9 games, bro, like that's coach of the year. Everybody gets raises.
Who said they would win 9?
Who was it?
Cap.
Oh, Cap man said they were going to win 9 games?
Cap crazy as shit, though.
That's
my man. But
I love that guy.
Cap. There it is.
See? 9
Did
God bless
see
you,
the
dude.
That's one of my favorite guys, bro.
I would not have guessed. Cap's good people. He dresses like a gangster every once in a while. He's good people. No.
I think they're rebuilding.
Yeah, definitely. It's a Bear cover. Anytime you can pick any player and people are like, oh yeah, they needed that.
Right.
Like, think about that. Like, any pick they made, they're like, oh, we do need one of those. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, we do need everything
7
out
picks
there.
in. Yeah, we need him too.
Roquan is a bad boy.
Yeah.
I think he's got a chance to be a really good, burgeoning on special player because that dude played in the SEC.
Yep.
And when you're going up against those guys who everybody's going to be
It's real shit.
Hey, Oklahoma game, all you need to put on that first half of that Oklahoma game where he was
spying Mayfield.
Well, he was turning around. He was turning around a couple of times in the second half of that game. I don't know what happened at halftime, but he batted down the hatches, and he was the best player on that field. Second half of that game, and there's a lot of pros on that field, including number 1 pick, like you just mentioned. Roquan's going to be a problem, though. I'm looking forward to him. I'm looking forward to him playing ball.
I'm looking forward to the defense. I just feel like Mitchie T, these weapons that they got are still out. I don't see him doing more than 5 looking at that schedule.
What I say, 6?
Yeah, you said 6.
Yeah, I think it's going to be like a 5 or 6 win season.
Yeah.
And somebody's going to get fired here soon, though. Because you can't keep. You got 4 straight 10-loss seasons. Like after a while, I don't care what you're rebuilding. You got to win. You got to because people are going to stop going. And I know people are going to go for the offense this year.
We just declined Kevin White's 5th year option.
Yeah. That's my cousin, bro. He's a huge fan of you, man.
Oh, that's a surprise.
He came out to see you. You were at were you at like a bar in Addison? Shoeless Joe's or something?
Yeah. Motherfucker tried to fight me.
That's what he said. That's what he said. He goes, you got to ask him about the fight. I saw him. I was dying laughing.
Motherfucker tried to fight me. I was sitting there. We're doing the show. I was sitting there before the next show.
Okay.
And this dude drunk already. He had his construction clothes on. So I'm like, you know what I'm saying? This guy just got off of work and came in here and was getting lifted. And he goes, you're not as big as I thought you were. So I'm like, all right, here we go. And then I shake his hand and he's doing the weird, like, jerking Donald Trump handshake where it's like, he doesn't want to let go of your hand, like it's a power struggle. It's like, how little is my dick handshake? So I'm like, all right, cool. So I let his hand go. And I sit down, and he's sitting right next to me, and he says something about, like, he said, oh, yeah, he goes, you want to arm wrestle? And I'm like, come on, bro. Like, so I get up and walk away. And then I start to do our show because I believe it was Manly and somebody else out there. So we start to do our show, and Manly's sitting there still talking to me, and he comes up to the studio, the mobile studio that we have, and he starts to talk some more. I'm like, we about to come back on air, back up a little bit. We do a segment. He comes back up to the booth again, and he's yelling, but I haven't gone to break yet. So you can hear him in the microphone, and I'm worried he's gonna curse.
Right.
So I'm like, I'm emotional. You gotta back up. And then as soon as we went to break, I put my headphones on. I'm like, oh man, you have to back up. And I guess he got alarmed that I did this. Yeah. So he starts to puff up, and I'm still sitting down while I'm doing. So I'm like, I'm not gonna sit here while he's getting ready to, whatever he's gonna do. So I stand up. He gets closer. And then I'm like, if you wanted to do it, you would have done it, right? Already. Everybody's looking at me in the bar. I'm the only brother there. So I'm chill, but I'm like, bro, you got to move back. And then Manly comes over, and Manly is
telling me. So it's an NBA fight.
Exactly. Yeah, Manly comes over. Yeah, I'm like, am I going to lose it all for a drunk one right here?
Exactly.
So, but then he starts to see all kinds of bitches.
Are you serious?
I'm like, you got it.
Didn't come out, did it?
You got it. And then they called the police.
So get out of here.
Yeah, so the bar owner called the police, and he was
got him out of there.
He was just looking out.
Yeah,
they got him out of there before the police got there, and the police was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm fine, man. Like it's a drunk dude. I just want to make sure we didn't lose our license, get in trouble." But that happens like once or twice a year. Well, happened like once or twice a year.
Right. That's a good segue into what we're going to talk about the next half.
White people.
Exactly. Let's start of how everybody that knows you started as a fan of the Score. Mm-hmm. How did you get started in radio?
Oh, okay. I started listening to the Score
because you grew up
as
a
kid.
Right?
Yeah, as a kid, and I started calling when I was a kid. And you had to be 18 to get on the air, and they let me and one other guy on, Sam Fells, who writes for Faxes from Dale, the Twitter feed for Blackhawks fans. Great newsletter.
Okay.
So me and Sam, as kids, would get on the air and pop our little jokes. We became like little characters on the station. And I would call and ask if I can get an internship. They told me I had to get college credit. So I'm like 15 years old, 16 years old at this time. So I'm like, man, I gotta wait. So I go to SIU as a kid at 17, and then I'm calling them like, I want this internship. Like, what can we do? They tell me when I come back home, I can have an internship. So I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. Forget it. And kids out there, my path isn't your path. Shouldn't be your path. I didn't go the traditional route, but I told my mom, like, yo, there's no reason for me to go back here. Mm-hmm. Like I need to do this. If I'm gonna do it now, I want to do it. Like, I never had a plan B.
Yeah.
And kids have plan B. Like, I always wanted to execute the mission, which was be on the air at the station that I grew up listening to. Mm-hmm. So came back home. They were like, yeah, get your college credits. I enrolled in DeVry. And I went to DeVry, hollered at some girls, really didn't go to the classes, but I took 3 buses and 2 buses and 2 trains 3 days a week for 9 months for free on my internship. And the internships at that point was only 6 months, but I told them I keep coming because I wanted to get on. And I was working at like Finish Line and Old Orchard. And I was the only one that wasn't stealing out of there too. I was so angry at myself. I was like my last day, the manager was like, you never stole from us. I was like, is that what I was supposed to be doing? But yeah, I was working at UPS and Finish Line while I was interning, and they hired me during my internship. So right after my 20th birthday, I'm on, I'm hired. And I mean,
that was the Boys of Mercy.
No, man, no. My first show was with Dave Baum and Phil Cozen, God rest his soul. I used to, I had the 5 a.m. to noon shift.
Wow.
And this is when I'm 19, so I'm going out and then coming, busting in the door at 4:15, and still on point. I knew at some point I was going to be tired. My mom was like, "You got to cut this out. If you're gonna do it, you got to do it."
Yeah.
But those were my first 2 shows, and Dave Baum. My mother listened to Dave Baum when she came to this country, so the fact that I was producing his show was like an honor for me.
Wow.
He's Chad Champ. That's a Chicago legend. So I went from that and, did some fill-in production work for different shows, whether it be North. I interned under Dan McNeil. McNeil and Jigs was another show I interned under. And at that time, McNeil was not happy with the changes because, they had split up the Monsters and the Heavy Fuel Crew and, did what they had to do with that. So, you could tell it was like a bad vibe. But, I learned a lot about, being accountable and making sure that you did your job no matter what was going on.
Yeah.
And I learned under Jerry Rouse and Dan Zampillo and Jeff Dickerson and guys like that. So I got my full-time shot when Scott Scher, who was the sound man for Boris and Bernstein, moved on. Okay. And Zampillo at the time was like, I was bouncing around at night with Jonathan Hood, and then a car dealer's son was having troubles getting a job outside of radio. So he called it a favor. Next thing you know, I'm off Hood's show. And,
wow.
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough because I was, I had accepted that as like that's my show. Like I always took pride in whatever show I was producing. Like. No bad phone calls, no bad audio. Let's get through. A clean show for me was like this. It was a source of pride. And then when that happened, for a guy who didn't really want to be in the business, it kind of hurt my spirit a little bit. But I never stopped. And Dan Zampillo at the time was what we call the executive producer, sports director now is the term. So he put me on the Boris and Bernstein show because he knew I was a hustler, and I changed the way that show sounded because at that time there wasn't a lot of hip hop and R&B music. There were bumps, and there was some pushback. But I told people like, if the content is good, the music is just an accompaniment. Right. If the content is shit, it doesn't matter. Yeah. Right. You play whatever song you want to play.
Exactly.
So went from the Boris and Bernstein show and did some other fill-in hosting stuff because at this time I was getting a little bit better at hosting and honing my craft. And Terry Boers, he put me to the side when he felt himself slowing down a little bit and was like, "Hey man, like jump on, I trust you, and I know that you're not gonna make this show worse by talking." So I was right there. I always had the mic in front of me, so I would just jump in every once in a while. But that's the condensed version that got me to hosting, I guess, because at that point it was me bumping my head and thinking that I deserved the same amount of money as a fill-in shift as everybody else did that was out there, and having my not understanding the business, but understanding what ethics you should move with, because I definitely if I'm filling in for a midday host, and you're paying somebody, say for instance, $500 to fill in, but you want to pay me $200, $250. Like, I can't do that.
No,
just off principle, because then that means you're going to pay me that every time.
Because for those that don't know, midday in radio is like that's
the day parts, 6 to 6, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. is what advertisers and clients pay for. It stretches sometimes to 7 p.m. But 6 to 6 is usually where that range that the station makes the money, advertising wise. So if I'm on and everybody is enjoying the show and people feel comfortable enough to ask me to host with them, I feel like I should get the same wage. And when that didn't happen, like I was off the air for like a good 8 months because I wouldn't settle because. And I had a host say, I'll give you the money out of my pocket. And I was like, that's not it. That's not it's the principle. Because there'll be a time where you're not here, and I don't want to. First of all, I don't want to take money off of anybody that I didn't earn. Like, I'm not. You're not paying me. Like, the station should be paying me. Exactly. So went through that as a kid and kind of tried to understand the ins and outs of the business before I went to Atlanta.
Okay.
And then
And then that happened.
And then Atlanta happened, which was a good experience. I'll never talk down.
So what happened with you and Spiegel to transition to you and Bernstein? Was it just a...
me and Spiegel, I think we had a fun show. I enjoyed working with Spiegel because he was nothing like me. And we thought in two different ways, but it was okay that we did. And we were learning from each other and vibing off of each other. Speeds at the end there, when Terry was on the way out, there was a lot of fill-ins and all these other things, and me and Speeds were humming, like we were messing around, had them switch up their whole lineup on the other station, and during the middays. I mean, what happened with their midday slot was because they dropped me in there because Speaks had a rotation of people, and it was.
Didn't they do something with Manley at first?
Yeah. It was Pat Manley. It didn't work for anybody involved, including Pat. And they had a bunch of fill-ins for Spiegel. And meanwhile, I'm in Sirius doing my thing. Right, I'm back in the city, but I'm on Sirius doing 2 shows a day. Everything was cool. The money was great, and I'm at home. So I couldn't. I was feeling good about life. And Mitch came and sat down in my loft and said, I want you to drive my midday show. And I'm like, yo, that's big because Spiegel is a driver. So you don't come in there and step on anybody's toes, but I also want to make sure that any show that I'm on, they understand that it's a 50-50 thing. Right. It's not me riding anybody's coattails. I'm strong-willed and I have strong opinions, so I know I'm not the easiest person to work with all the time. But I wanted that understanding. I think, after the first couple months, I think we got a really good understanding of how to work with each other and what to do. And then Terry gets sick, and it was time for Terry to move on. And, it was around the same time for contract time with me. And everybody on the show would like mess around and tease me like, we know you're going to go work for the afternoon show. You're not going to go work with Bernstein. And that wasn't the case. Like I was trying to negotiate a deal where I could stay with Spiegel because I had my reservations about the afternoon show, period. There was a lot of things that I questioned going in.
Dan's a strong personality.
Yeah, I worked for him for 8 years. It wasn't even a Dan's personality. It's just at the point that I was at, I'm still a young host, so I'm ready to go get him every day. And that energy has to be matched by everybody around me. Especially I got a son on the way. I don't want to put my family's hands in anybody that wasn't ready to get it like I was ready to get it, and come out every day swinging because you're going up against a show that's been on for 17 years at the time, 16 years in Silver and Waddle and Sylvie. And say what you want about them, but they have something. They got something. And
everybody's watching.
Yeah, real deal. And I knew that. So, and I'm never afraid of competition. I just want to make sure I don't catch a break. So there were some changes that were made. And then in the end, I sacrificed a lot of money coming back the first time around the midday show. And I think in the end, I don't regret it because I wanted to prove it to myself that I could do it.
Right.
You know, and it's like a challenge, like something I want to do before I'm out of here. Is that I hosted a day part on the station. I was one of like 5 or 6 African Americans in the country that during the day had a day part show in the top 10 market. You know, and I'm not an athlete. So, like, you don't find
exactly.
too
it's going to be an ex-athlete if
it's
going to be
exactly,
anyone.
exactly.
Not some guy.
Right, exactly. Talking shit. Right. So, we figured it out, and same talk that Mitch had with me was like, all right, I need you with Dan. I have a vision here, and I'm like, I'm thinking about it the whole time because I like to pride myself as a loyal person. I'm like, we got something rolling in the middays. And I don't know what's going to happen with them, because he just got out of having 15 different co-hosts in a year, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it bothered me because, like, all the things that were being said, I didn't want them to be true. Like, oh, yeah, I just
right, because you're like, all right, they knew they had to jump on what I was going to do.
Yeah, and that's not what it was at all.
Right.
Because up until the last, I always save you text messages in your emails in case anybody try to pull that shit on you in business. Up until 2 weeks before, I was like, what can we do? Because, they told me that they had somebody in mind, and then they had to tell this person which way they were going. And that person ended up being Danny Parkins. So
that dude's face. He has a face to slap.
No comments. No.
I saw him on fucking
no comments.
Comcast, whatever that show is. I'm like, dude, he thinks he knows everything. You can't tell that dude. That's my opinion.
No,
that's all. He just has a face
that
needs to slap.
Yeah.
Bro,
you Charles Barkley?
No, I watched him. I'm like, this dude.
That was funny last night.
Yeah, that guy.
But at the
Thanks,
time,
producer.
but at the time, I didn't know who it was, even though he was making a lot of calls about the old man's job and doing overnight shifts. But I wasn't starting that because I'm worried about my own thing.
Yeah.
And then move on, and then me and Dan started rocking, and some changes were made to the show, and I the reservations that I had, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. No, last week. I took my separation agreement in there. Was it last week? No, we talked about. I mean, there are people there at the station that understand what I was worried about, and I trust my instincts, even though my better judgment told me that you got to do what you got to do. Like if they're telling you we want you to go this way, and by the way, this contract has nothing to do with the middays. You have to you got a family fee. You got to do what you got to do. Yeah. And I made it work. I mean, I'll show you. No, I'll show you. Well, I got text messages from program directors. From program directors when everything happened that I guess top threes and 5 shares just don't cut it anymore, because that's the part that bothered me the most.
And that's I think that's the part that everyone was pretty confused about too, man.
Yeah, because they floated the stuff about the numbers. Yeah, because
they put that in the news.
Yeah. But I it sucks because it's not about me. It's about like the people that I work with. I would never. Like you could talk about me all day. I'm used to it, but when it comes to my producers, guys who put something into this,
you can't throw them under the bus.
Well, you're making them look crazy.
Right.
You can make me look crazy all you want. I'm used to it, but then don't expect me not to call out the bullshit too.
Right. Of course.
Because
you got to fend for yourself.
Well, I mean, Robert Feeder and Phil Rosenthal. The 4 years that I was here never ever hit me up. We was kicking the shit out of the other place.
Yeah,
but never hit me up. And then they post numbers that like we don't care about 12 plus. Like 25 to 54 is what we make money off of. So to say that we would, and then it feeds a narrative to uninformed people. Yeah. Where it's like the ratings must have been bad. That's why. Bear Sports Media, when they posted everything that was going on in the major cities, and you saw the real numbers, people were like, yo, I'm not lying to you.
Well, that's what I'm saying. As your show and not because you're sitting here, but your show before I met you today, I knew who you were. I knew this was a good show.
Yeah, I think you did all right.
So when I heard that the show was no longer there, I was like,
"What are you telling, brother?
How is that show no longer there on 670?" You know what I mean? Because that's the 670 show. To me, that was the 670 show.
Yeah. Well, we knew, new management. You have the right to do whatever you want to do. I, looking back on it, I've learned to accept it a little bit more, like every day and every week. But I just wish a conversation would have been had. I didn't talk to the new head guy in charge until the day he let me go, and he had been there for 5 months, and I'm not the guy to run around and go into the office and check on how my job.
Has he been here before?
Yeah.
So he's basically the guy of the old regime.
Yeah, he was the guy that lost GM to us. I mean, lost the Cubs to us.
Oh.
Yeah.
Man, they bring him on.
Yeah.
So we're going to get back into that, but as an African American, right, I watched the show I listened to your show since before you went
to Atlanta.
Oh, man. Like, you were mentioning, like, when we used to go to the Bulls games.
Yeah.
I tell him all the time, like, it's not a lot of us there.
No.
So if you see, like, Chris Kaysen, Leon will come sometimes. Yeah, but that's it. Yeah, it's not a lot of us there. So when I look at all of the comments, mainly geared towards race, how do you, like you said, take it? How do you not get them?
Are you talking about the people who like?
Yeah, like they'll say,
this
son. Yeah, I put one in my phone. It was strict. It was just harsh.
I seen you going at some guy today. I was laughing.
Oh yeah, the dude who was
race,
talking about.
What did they say? A race? Like you just
all I talk about is race.
All you talk about is race.
Yeah, I mean,
and like political.
That's unfortunate because that's not one. It's not the truth. Mm-hmm. Two, I talk about things that are in the news, sports wise, more so than anything. And the problem that I have with that is we're getting to a very weird place where you can't talk about the things that affect you or affect the storylines of the day because everyone is so sensitive. Yeah. We can't have discourse anymore where you don't have to agree with me. I've never understood the need to be agreed with ever since I was a child, because if you stand on what you stand on and I rock with you, of course. It's like I look at radio as a connection of talkers, thinkers, creatives, friends, enemies, all those things. 4 hours, you get the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah. Now, I know that I'm not going to agree with that. If you agree with everything your friends have to say, then you might be a bad friend.
Yeah. You are a bad friend, I think.
Yeah, and the problem that I have with it is, you can talk about anything, but when it comes to something that, one, you haven't experienced or you feel excluded from,
right?
And this is the problem that I've been noticing since I've been away is, the people who feel excluded are the ones who have been doing the most, exclusion, from the start of this. Yeah. Like the fact that you have to be an athlete or you have to be, in with somebody to be an African American in this business is crazy.
It's awful.
And then the not to mention the lack of female participation or respect in the business as well. Like, I'm not some crazy politically correct dude. Yeah. I'm super flawed. And I also know that there are views. This is the problem that I have is you don't even give me a chance to relate to me. Because I know there's some things that I agree with that you'd be like, oh shit, I didn't know. Like, you sure about that, Jay? Yeah. It's not on some Kanye shit, but it's like there are perspectives and experiences that people aren't privy to that I think the market managers and the people that run these companies, they insult the listener by thinking that you can't digest it. I know a bunch of cool white. I was telling Sarah Spain this. I know a bunch of cool white dudes. I know a bunch of cool Middle Eastern dudes. I've been around Jewish people my entire life, growing up in Evanston, right across the bridge from Skokie. Yeah. Like, these are the cultures that I've been affected by it. But the moment I tell you something, you feel alienated. The moment I make a reference, like I've been listening to references on the score for 30 damn near 30 years that I was like, yo, I'm gonna have to look that up. But the moment I say something that is common in the culture that I'm from, it's like, uh-oh, I don't know what this is. I feel alienated. I feel excluded. And then you listen to the loud minority. That's the other part about it too. Like the things that were said in those pieces. And this dude hit me today on Twitter. It's like, you sound bitter. It's like, no, I'm not bitter.
Yeah,
I'm not a sucker.
Right.
You know, and I won't stand for sucker shit. Like the things that were said in those columns, it's just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Just say you don't. Hey, it's not the kind of radio I want to do. Keep it moving. And that would have been that. But the fact that you had to do 4 different pieces, it tells you when you have to keep talking in a breakup, you probably fucked up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just be like, I'm done with this. I'm keep it moving. But when you have to keep, all right, this is why we did this, and I hope we will do. No, it's your station. I understand that, and now you're dealing with the backlash because you didn't think that people would be like, oh man, I actually rock with that dude. Right. How many listeners I have hit me up and be like, I didn't agree with a thing you said. You're the perfect listener for me. You know why? Because there's something that made you come back to hear the conversation, whatever it was. I don't need, like, there are certain hosts that need people to agree with them to feel better about a show. I don't give a shit. Like, if you tell me you like my show, cool. If you tell me you don't like my show, that's fine.
Right.
There's something that's being snatched out of you that makes you come back. And I always tell people, you don't listen to things you don't like. As a kid, I used to listen to WLS, and it was a political talk radio station, and listen to Don Wade and Roman in the morning. I listened to Katherine Johns, Jay Marvin, Rush Limbaugh. Those are political spectrums, like every color of the rainbow right there on one day. But I listened to them because there was something that attracted me to it, something that drew me to it, something that I felt like I was being informed on another point of view. Now, we're in times now where, it's a little bit more dangerous because, you may normalize behavior that you don't want to normalize. But at the same time, if I'm the same guy that could tell you, when Commander Bauer was slain, right? My uncle is a police officer.
Okay. And
me and him talked that entire show via text about that guy. And I brought it up on the show, and about, solid dude he was. And in the line of duty, and it was off duty and he got killed, right? I sat there and talked about that for like a segment and a half, 2 segments. I got no flack. No problems. You know why? Because it's easy to mourn someone you respect. Meanwhile, if I have an issue with the unarmed black man being shot, and that happened where I broke down during the show, because I had talked about it with my lady for the first time, and she was pregnant, and we were on the way to work, and I just started talking about it, and I told Matt I didn't want to talk about it, and then Matt brought it up, and then we started talking about it, and I couldn't stop, and I lost it. Like, why is it okay? Like, this is the problem. Like, people don't view each other as complex individuals. So it must be, if I talked about unarmed black men being shot, I must hate the police. Or if I talk about, Colin Kaepernick, that means that I don't have 3 people in my family. One right now, currently in Afghanistan. You know what I mean? So that's the problem that I have. And the loud minority makes you feel like, oh my God, this is really bothering me. And then you listen to that, and then you remove something from your station that might provide a little texture, a little substance that's different from, the norm. Because let's face it, when I was a kid, I heard people talking about Rush, the band. I heard people talking about Neil Peart, the guitarist. I had no idea who he was. I had no idea who they were. But guess what? I looked it up, and I was like, all right, I want to learn something about these people. So what makes you think that men who are 25 to 54 years old, who aren't from my, aren't from my background or don't share the same perspectives that I have, might not say, oh man, I didn't think of it that way. All right, I'm gonna give some knowledge on that. Or the problem is we got too many people not talking about certain things, so that when you do hear it, I said it on the air. I listened for 2 weeks in a row. I went back and listened. We talked about sports for 83% of the time. And there was 17% of the time we was talking about the Colin Kaepernick stuff and the other stuff that was going on. Now, if the other station is talking about it 0% of the time, 17% seems like a lot.
Right.
And when you think about it, that's less than a fifth of the show that we've talked about something that's going on.
Right.
So it just, I'll never sacrifice.
And that's the thing.
I'll never sacrifice who I am, but at the same time, it's disheartening because you've heard other people talk about things that affect them.
Right.
And that's where it kind of is troubling to me because you just hope that other young cats, whether they be white or black, are able to inject who they are into a show.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing is I feel like a lot of people, are hesitant to talk about what they truly believe in because they feel like they have to tiptoe around stuff.
Right.
In which, I mean, in this day and age, like you said, what you say can be conveyed in a much worse message. Like this Kanye West thing, for example, right? When he originally started this thing, I'll be honest, I didn't have a problem with it because I don't think he said anything bad when he originally started. Here, he stuck up for the president, right? He said that he felt that the president was, was
so
just.
With him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But then he took it overboard. See, but at the beginning, I don't understand, and this is why I'm asking you guys.
This is
I don't understand why
he was jumped on.
People were like, why the African American community was like, hey, why are you going against us? And
I can't speak. Believe that we're all supposed to be Democrats first and foremost. I think Chance had posted something
and said you're not.
Have to be,
And then they jumped on him,
and I didn't think that was fair either.
But
then when you take it as far as he's been taking it, then I understand.
This is the issue that I have with what Kanye said is like you showing people one. Like, we gotta stop giving a shit what people who make art say about certain things that they're not informed on. Like, he's not living the life that we live.
No.
And it doesn't mean that he can't have his opinion on things. But when you're in a cocoon of like a false reality, and the only time you come and talk to us is when it's time to sell a product, I know what it is.
Yeah. I agree.
I know what it is. And at the same time, you can't be the same guy who talks about, your mother being at the sit-ins and you was born to be different, and then 5, 6, 7 years later, co-sign a person who has shown you that if there is a care for people of color,
right?
And that's the other thing, like classism, I think is as real as racism is, but I feel like poor white people don't understand it. Like, poor white people get looked at the same way black people do. Exactly. Poor white people think that they're different and they'll be treated differently because they're white. Like, classism is real, bro. You got people who are out here making no money but voting for rich people who want to make sure they make
exactly
money.
See, that's exactly where it lies. Which is why I was okay with his first set of comments, because I'm thinking of this, right? I'm thinking a high-class citizen, white or black, which he is a high-class citizen because of the amount of money he makes. The president technically is beneficial to his lifestyle, right?
Or class. Yeah.
Or class, whatever you want to call it. So he's cool with him. Then he took it too far. You know what I'm saying? But at the beginning, my thought process is if you feel that way because of the class you're in, and this president is more beneficial to you right now, because everybody has a different situation.
But you can't then expect the people to be behind you.
I don't expect the people to be behind. But the problem is, I don't know where it went so south to where it became.
Well, I mean, this happened. Like, it's not like you just met Donald Trump, though.
Right?
Like, this is something that this is the same.
It's
man.
out of nowhere.
I'm just saying, this is the same man that said, Obama wasn't born here. Like, he's spoken like a person before he became president that everybody knew what his intentions and what he was, like the makeup of him, and he just happens to be the president now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason, like, for the Charlottesville stuff and all these other things. Like, there's too many examples and too many instances where you can't just be like, well, that's one or two. He's shown you that the people that look like you, not the people that don't get paid like you, but the people that look like you, aren't held in the same with the same reverence as others. And if you are that man, see, this is the problem that I have. This free thinking thing is going to get a lot of people in trouble because it's going to allow people to say that I'm a free thinker with having no information, doing no research, and just saying
no knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Like this is going to be the new wave where if you could just say free thinker and get away with whatever.
Right. Well, what I said, I was a free thinker, so
and that shouldn't walk, especially if you got strong opinions.
That's what's going to happen.
Like he understands the magnitude of his voice. Like that's the problem that I have is don't act like you didn't know this was going to be this kind of storm.
Right.
And
it's funny, he makes himself relevant on Twitter again, and then he goes into that whole thing.
Because he's going to sell.
Shoes are coming out, albums coming out.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. I'm good.
Yeah.
You know why I'm good? And I had this conversation with a friend of a friend, where she was talking about Bill Cosby, she was talking about R. Kelly, and talking about Kanye West now. And it's like all they want to do is hang all our black heroes in effigy. And all I'm saying, listen, there are many. This isn't the days when there was like 2 or 3 spokespeople for the black race, and they were assassinated.
Yeah, there's a million.
Yeah. So why?
So you don't have to pinpoint those couple.
Why would you feel it necessary to allow certain black men to get away with atrocities that you would never allow a white man to get away with?
Never.
So you want to see white men locked up the same way Bill Cosby got locked up? Cool, but there's nothing. They're false parallels.
Right.
Exactly.
When you're wrong, you're wrong. Right. When you're right, you're right.
And
it doesn't matter what color you are.
I just don't understand. I just don't understand a lot of things that go on now. This is why I keep those thoughts to myself because it's you get put in a trick bag where you say how you feel and it seems like it's common sense, but Kanye West, I don't listen to R. Kelly songs because R. Kelly, I know people,
and I like R. Kelly songs,
but you can't take away the times I didn't step to his song.
Yeah,
what I'm saying. Go back to the Jordan conversation. Like you can't take those memories away.
No,
I'm still gonna play Graduation and some of those. I'm good on it now. It's okay to let people go. Like we think that. First of all, we don't know these people.
Yeah.
Exactly. You don't personally know the guy.
People confuse social media with who people really are.
Exactly.
It's funny too because when I started,
right.
When I started with him with this Bulls gig, I would see guys on TV and I'd be like, "That guy looks like a dick," and then I interact with him, and then I would interact with him, and then I'd be like, "Oh, he's a great guy," and then. Likewise, I'd be like, "Oh, he seems pretty cool." And then I look at him, I'm like, "I hate this guy."
That's why I go in with zero expectations.
You have to. Klay Thompson, the worst.
He's one of the weirdest dudes in the NBA.
Wow.
One of the weirdest cats.
I can't stand him.
I don't rock with him on any level.
That dude.
Yeah. Well,
he was brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Well, he's not. I mean, he's not. He's
third best on the team. That's
what
I felt like telling him. You're third best.
Oh, he's still a good player.
I know.
He doesn't have on that team. He doesn't have a lot. On this.
I mean, like when you said, just to segue back as we wrap up, you said like it's hard to still listen to something like the R. Kelly thing. It's hard for me, outside of maybe Grobber, because I've been listening to that dude forever. It's hard to hear Parkins and McNeil or McKnight and Burns. It's like it's like they're going back to the 80s with they're just all in a row. It's like
I haven't been able to listen since I left.
It's I can't.
And it's hard. It's a lot. I mean, it's
I'm a Cap 1000 right now.
Well, this is the thing. I wish those guys the best because it's the station I grew up on.
Yeah,
I'm not going for but at the same you know what's up. At the same time, like just like when I went to Atlanta, like I missed home so much I couldn't listen to it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I still miss it now, so I can't listen to it.
Yeah.
Like I can't listen to the fun times. I can't listen to the bad times. It's something in me, and I don't know. I don't know. Like it's tapped into me now twice, and this is the second time, and the circumstances are completely different, and I can't. And I got guys from the station who call me, hit me up all the time.
Yeah.
Like I can't really. Like that's a part of my life that I have to look at now as dead, and it sucks because I wouldn't have, in a million years I wouldn't have told you like when I thought changes were going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think I was going to be the guy that the changes would be made on.
But you got to do you, though. I mean,
without question. Oh, yeah.
And that's it. And the thing is, man, I didn't know the whole backstory. I didn't know you not gave up, but I didn't know you let college go and you stuck to your guns and you did this thing and
jumped in.
Yeah, man, it's
straight from
good for you.
So what happened at the tail end, and what's next for you? Like, what happened? Like, was it literally when they said, "Oh, they're gonna put him on"? I saw Feeder said, like, pretty much they're gonna put you on the shelf.
No, I was done.
You were done right there.
Yeah, no, I told him I was done because I couldn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
It's hard knowing that.
Yeah,
you could do this to me. I came in here when I was 17.
I couldn't do it.
Put me on the
So
show?
they gave you something to do, and you're just like, fuck.
No. They didn't. I don't think they had a plan.
They put him on the back burner.
I don't think they had a plan because for 2 weeks, I was hitting them up, and my lawyer was saying, "Like, what are we doing here?
Okay.
When can we get the separation agreement and all that stuff?" We talked about this. I found out, was it the Friday before March 12th? I think March 12th was my last day.
Mm-hmm.
March 12th was the day they told me. I found out that Friday, Jarvis Landry got traded.
Yeah.
And we had a Cubs game, and I found out during the Cubs game.
I remember that.
And I came back on air, and I didn't, I was professional, ended the show the way I was supposed to. But I didn't, I knew it was done there. Because we had no talks, and the way a guy that I was dealing with for years, the way he was talking on text messages was real iffy. I'm like, oh yeah, this is whack. And and the people that knew before me, I just was like, all right, this is who you are, and I keep moving.
Exactly.
You're gonna have to live with that.
That's rough.
And and that's why when people hit me on the phone or on Twitter, it's like there's nothing for me to talk about. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Like you made a play, and I'm on the outside. That's all good. I trust my talent, and I'm sure.
Got you this far.
Super sure that things are about to turn around.
Yeah.
But I didn't see it coming, so I was blindsided, and people from the 4 major teams hit me up. It was like everything okay? Like we were sad to see you go and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So the city understands. Yeah. Like the
That's
city,
all that matters.
The city understands, and when I'm back on, the city will have my back, and we'll do what we got to do.
Regardless of where it is.
Without question, man.
All right.
Without question. I got some things in the making right now. I just want to make sure that I don't do anything, too hastily and then mess around and catch a bad deal. But everything. It's not as dark a period as it was those first couple of weeks because to be thrown in the mix like that, man, it's jarring.
Yeah.
Like when
tell your girls.
That stuff. But that was surprisingly like she was sad for me, but she didn't show me like the despair.
Yeah.
Like she let me go.
She knows.
She let me go through what I had to go through. But the part about like just getting ready every day, I took pride in getting ready every day, showing up on time, and doing it for 4 hours, and then 5 hours on the afternoon show. So when it all came to a screeching halt, it was like, how much of my identity did I find in being a sports radio host, and how much of it had to be me just being Jason the guy,
Right.
So my son being my son, my little guy, he took me to a different place in terms of like how I needed to like reset myself, because that's gonna happen no matter what. Like I got to be there and be happy for him and do all the alphabet songs and all the Sesame Street stuff. Like I gotta be that guy. So he made sure, that it was cool, and he's 16 months and he's kicking my butt. But awesome. My energy has been drawn to other places. It's still to this day. Like I get ready every day. Like I'm getting ready to host a show, and then noon comes around. I'm like, oh shit! Like how many Game of Thrones episodes?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I was telling Dylan, like, man, I want to turn on the game. I've been bad for a while now. I go in there and get washed, getting my feelings. Yeah. So things in the city and also nationally, getting ready to bubble. So I appreciate the TV looks too.
Totally.
The TV looks have been good, and you guys invited me to see the podcast. It's cool.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hopefully I get a chance to do some work.
Nah, man, I looked up to this dude.
Long time, man.
Same
Dion been.
Yeah, man.
I've
I
always
listen to your show a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
I've always
I was pretty
enjoyed
excited about it.
So this is a great show for us. I'll never forget this, man. I appreciate
anytime, bro. Anytime.
Yeah. So you heard it here. You said anytime. We're gonna bring his ass back. So
until I get that money.
Until he gets that money. Like,
when I get that money,
I'm
gonna have to put Dylan over here, put a chain on Dylan. And be like, Jay was sick.
All right, for Ant, Jason, Goff, Dylan, and Josh, I appreciate you guys.
Thank you, my man.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you,
brother. Appreciate it,
sir.
as always.
Mm-hmm.